I thought it might help you if I sketched out how to put together a feature story with a definite beginning, a definite middle, and a definite end. So you're going to see really quickly why I am not an art major, right? So my mother's an artist, and she would call this a suggestion, right, of a capital I. So that's our feature structure, right? We have a definite lead, we have an alternative lead, we have a nut graph that ties the lead to the rest of the story. This is where we answer our 5 W's or in our H. Whatever we haven't said in the lead at this point, we're going to let people know what the story is about here. And then we have an end. Now, this is a little bit different because we haven't done an ending yet. Our brights don't really need an end. Sometimes it's hard to do one, but here we're going to do it because we've got a lot to work with. From now on, any feature of any length is going to have a definite ending to it. For this, you're going to use your Hiker fact set, and you're going to pick your favorite direct quote from that fact set. I like to pick quotes that kind of, maybe this character has given a synopsis of what he's learned, or maybe something really important along the journey. Sometimes people have quotes that they look forward to the future. That's a good way to end. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick that out and put it on the side, and you're not going to use it for the rest of the story. But you're going to use this and decide how you're going to do your lead, because you're going to tie the end to the beginning. And the good writers know where they're going, right? So we're going to pick our destination before we start doing anything. Good movies are that way. You'll notice a good movie that has a sense of closure. You'll find out at the end something you learned along the way, maybe at the very beginning and forgot about, a character you met or something like that. So we're going to pick our ending. We're going to know where we're going first. So we're going to write our lead. So now you might work on this a little bit more, but what you can do now, a lead is not going to have a direct quote from anybody or a question. You can use maybe a word or two or a thought from this direct quote in your lead. Remember, you can say Will Henderson. We don't even have to know anything about him in the lead. We're going to find out his identity as we go on in the story. So then we have our nut graph. And your nut graph, remember, it tells us what the story is about. So anything we need to find out, maybe who Will Henderson is here, what happened to him, and that two hikers found him along the way, right? So you get a nut graph for this size story. Remember, we get 4 type lines for our paragraph length. Now what I want you to do is go through your notes, go through your fact set, and pick out a good direct quote. This is going to be your 3rd paragraph here. And so your 3rd paragraph is going to be, so here's your lead. Now it may be a paragraph or 2, but I would recommend for this story a paragraph, and a paragraph. Pick out a direct quote that you think goes really well for your first one, maybe something that works really well once you've kind of described what the story is about. And that's your beginning. So you've got a big piece of your story already decided, right? And so here's your end. Now, what do we do for the middle? So you know I like that word chunks, right? So you've got some categories here of information. So the middle of a feature story is not going to be most important or least important. You have to decide how you're going to organize this information. Often you can go by category. There's 2 basic ways, I think. So there's some categories of his experience here. Sometimes you can go by chronology. Maybe it's important for you to say one thing first or another thing second. Sometimes you have categories, and then one of those categories is chronological. So again, you're going to use your God-given common sense here. Decide how you're going to organize the inside. And these are chunks. Now remember, in each chunk, you're going to have direct and indirect quotes. I like to, as we did when we practiced this and did our quote experiences there, what you can do is first of all tell us what we would see if we were there, and then tell us what he thought and felt about it. Tell us what we could see if we were there, and then tell us what he felt about it or thought about it. Because by giving us the context, then we can really appreciate his good direct quotes. So you've actually done a lot of this already when you did the previous assignment about the hiker feature story. But the only thing that's going to be different now is we're not doing inverted pyramid, right? We're going to do our alternative lead right here that ties to the end. Then the nut graph, what's the story about? And then our first direct quote. And then a mixture of direct and indirect quotes as we go through here. And we can check off those categories, right? We can even move those chunks around if we feel like we need to as we edit our stories. But you're really set to go here. This is a great way to end a feature story. There are many, many ways to end a feature story, but this is a good one to have in your toolbox so you can use when you do your final feature project. Pick out your direct quote, and when you interview people, you're always looking for these pieces, and don't leave the interview till you've got them, till you've got your ending. What am I going to end with? What's the story about? Can I allude to that in the lead? And do I have the right categories here for the story? So let's get started. You'll have a lot of fun here. I think you'll enjoy putting this together this way.